So often as pastors, it's go, go, go all the time. I mean, we move from sermon prep to preaching to counseling appointment to conflict management, not to mention all the other things that you do on a weekly basis. Ministry keeps on moving, but are you stopping long enough to take care of yourself? Well, in today's episode, we're going to look at 4 reasons why taking an inventory of yourself moves the church forward and helps you actually do more and better ministry. Here we go.
You know, back in the day, I just graduated from high school, and I had graduated from Sioux City, Iowa, and I moved down to Des Moines. And so moving to Des Moines, my parents had moved in February of that year, and he had started to work at a place called Sioux City Truck Sales. So it was a trucking firm, sold trucks, these tractor trucks, and then he serviced them. And so he needed somebody in the middle of the summer to do inventory. So this is going to be a job for some 18-year-old kid to come and do inventory. Now, this is what inventory consisted of. He says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We go in there, and here's these trays, cabinets of nuts, bolts, screws, washers, you name it, that they would use when they're repairing the trucks. So, well, Dad, how in the world am I going to count? I mean, there's thousands of these. He said, here's the way you do it. Opens the drawer, that's 100. Open a drawer, 50. Open a drawer, 362. And he says, that's the way you're going to count inventory. So we're looking at it, well, it's quite an estimate here, but that's close enough. That's going to get the job done. So I said, why are you doing an inventory? Well, you have to do an inventory because you have to know the way the year started, how many you had of these nuts, bolts, and screws, and how you ended the year. And what of those were used, in his case, all for service. So it'd be charged off to the service company. Companies do this all the time, taking inventory annually to know where they've been and where they're at today. And that's exactly what we want to talk with you about today, is taking inventory of yourself.
That's right. We're going to share 4 reasons why taking inventory of yourself will help move the church forward. And it's a very, very important thing to do. And in fact, we talk about this a little bit in episode 44. So if you haven't listened to that, you might want to go check that one out. That one was specifically on communicating vision to millennials.
But we referenced that inventory in the midst of it.
Yeah, and so that was very, very helpful thought that you want to check out if you haven't. Dick, why don't you give a little bit of a definition? When you're talking about taking personal inventory, as ministry leaders, obviously that's way different than inventory of parts at a shop. Yeah. So elaborate a little bit.
Well, here's the deal. Everybody knows this. If you're watching this, you know you're different than him and me. Yeah. And each of us has our own unique DNA. And so what is inside of you is really what's going to dictate what can come out of you. And when we're talking about leaders, I'm just telling you, as a leader, you have to know what's inside of you. Strengths, weaknesses, things you could learn, things that you have to offer that others don't. And when you learn that, I can tell you, the leaders that are most successful to mission, they're growing their churches, they know themselves. Yeah. When you don't know yourself, you are really behind the 8 ball in leading the church.
So this is a spiritual evaluation. This is emotional. This is gift sets.
That's right.
This is all
those.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course there are all sorts of things when you say gift sets. There are all sorts of tests out there and so on that can help you learn about yourself. And when you do, you're going to be better off.
Yeah, and I think too, what I've come to realize is it takes a long time to learn about yourself.
You think you know yourself.
Yeah. I remember being in my early 20s. It's like, I know exactly what I'm doing. Yada. And before long, you're like, wow,
I know nothing.
Yeah, I know nothing, and I don't really know myself.
Right.
And if over time you get more in that sweet spot where you're like, okay, well, I'm confident in this is what God has given me to do.
Well, because there's this you who you are. There's this you who you think you are, or the you who you want to be. Yeah. And then there's the you that you really are.
Right.
So we want to talk a little bit about that here today.
Yeah. So let's talk about 4 reasons why taking an inventory of yourself will move the church forward. So kick us off with the first thing.
Well, you know what? I think one of the first things I think of is it helps a person make adjustments quickly. When you know what's inside you, you can and you need to make adjustments. Knowing it helps you. If you're going down the road, I hope this is a decent illustration, and you've got a low air in the right front tire, knowing that helps you make the adjustment to get to the gas station, get the air in the tire, versus not knowing it, and you just keep going on down life.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you got a flat tire in your hands. So, and knowing this gives you pause, or says, okay, I'm going slow on some piece of the development of me, so I got to hit the gas, or I'm going too fast, I need to ease up. These are the kinds of things that help you adjust quickly when you know what's inside.
So are you talking about like adjusting the way you are leading, or what or are we talking about making adjustments in the church, or both and?
Yeah, it could be both and. The fact is, if you maybe I'm saying it reverse, or let's try this. If you don't know what's inside you,
okay,
you don't know to make the adjustments slow or quick. But when you know what's inside you, you say, oh, wait a minute, I can lead better if I do this, and you can make that turn. That's what I'm trying to encourage you with, is make your adjustments quickly when you know yourself.
Yeah, that's good. Now, the second thing that I know you're a big proponent of is the fact that this makes you a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
So, why do you feel that way? What's your thoughts?
Well,
on
I remember when the term lifelong learner, I don't know if you even had picked this up, but really became kind of a trendy term back in the 90s. And I was, during those years, serving. You'll remember I served on a school board.
So you're talking about like the 1900s?
Yes, the 1900s. I know it.
Sorry.
Smart.
Cheesy joke.
I know.
Yeah.
I know it.
Okay.
So, but the term lifelong learner came on the scene in public education. And then before you know it, everybody was taking off on the term lifelong learner. But the fact is, as a pastor and leader, you need to be a lifelong learner. If you think, like Jonathan referenced when he's in his early 20s, if he had really believed and continued with that belief that as a 22-year-old he knew it all, he'd be toast. There's no way you can do that. You need to be learning all the time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of the great guys that I loved listening to him was about a 75-year-old guy. He was on staff over at Woodlake in Tulsa. And this guy was continually saying, I want to get better. And I want to tell you something. I want to be like him when I'm 75 years old. I want to be learning all the time. When you know yourself, when you've taken inventory, you'll be a better lifelong learner. The evaluation of yourself really sets you up and the team up for growth, because we're going to reference that along the way. You take an inventory, then spills out onto your team of staff or volunteers.
Well, and we actually talk about that in the masterclass that I put together, where we break that down a little bit more. So that might be something to check out if you're looking for additional resources.
And I would tell you, I know he's my son, but that's an outstanding class. It's about just shy of an hour.
That's just under an hour.
And really, it really is a great way. Here's what you just go to Leaders.Church /secrets, and you can jump into the masterclass today.
Yeah.
And it's free to you.
Yeah. So, but that's just part of the evaluation process.
Exactly.
You have to do. Now, another thing that for me comes to mind when it comes to the idea of why we need to be doing this inventory of ourselves regularly is just because I think it can help build your confidence. When you are regularly inventorying yourself, I don't even know if that's the proper way to say it, but taking inventory of yourself, you're learning yourself. And then you say, okay, here, what are my strengths?
Right.
And so then that gives you that confidence to say, no, God has given me this gift, or God has given me the strengths, or God has given me the experience that's allowed me to be able to do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do, or that I'm supposed to do in this season of my life. And so you have that confidence that you know you are where you should be.
All right.
And I think that's very, very important because I know a lot of times in ministry, we've seen tons and tons of pastors. There's that insecurity, there's that lack of confidence, and I think part of it could be just,
it stems from not knowing themselves.
Well, yeah.
If they'd known themselves, then you're confident.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point.
Then the other thing too is that I feel like when you do the inventory, it gives you direction. Because then, even for me, using me as the illustration, once I entered my 30s, now nearing 40 here.
Coming on.
How's that make you feel?
I just stay at a certain age.
Oh, man. I know. Well, you have a 40-year-old son here before you know it. But the point is, I have a lot more direction now than I did, say, a decade ago or more.
Right.
And because I've inventoried myself, I've looked at my gift set, I've looked at the experiences I've had and all the different opportunities, and then you see how God steers, God leads, And, as a result, you're able to move forward with the direction that you feel God leading to. On the flip side, when you don't do the inventory, then it's almost like you don't have that vision. You don't have that clarity.
Yeah, and then that spills over to the team. Because there's lack of vision, it's not clear, or your mission is muddied.
Yep.
So doing this really helps not only you, but helps your team feel that there's real direction in store.
That reminds me of this friend of mine who he's my age. His mom was serving as one of the pastors in a church, and she observed how there was a lack of vision from the lead pastor that she was working for, and it was very frustrating. And it was just like pulling teeth, and it's like she felt like she was the one who had all these ideas and vision and things that they wanted to do as a church, but getting those things to be implemented was really hard. And so that's why it's very important for us to know who we are, to have that solid inventory of ourselves, so that way we do have the direction.
Well, and I would predict in that situation, that pastor lacked an understanding of what he was inside. Had he taken inventory, this church, because she was ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest of the team were ready to go.
Yep.
But it's not taking inventory, you lose direction. Taking inventory, you gain a lot of direction. Let me give you a little a recap of what we just talked about here.
Good.
I think these 4 points really drive home why it's important to take inventory of yourself. First, it helps make adjustments quickly. Second, it makes you a better. It builds confidence. The third one is builds confidence, and the second one you become a lifelong learner. And the fourth one, it gives you better direction. If you'll really pay attention to those 4 things, you're going to see and keep that in mind. The reasons for you to take inventory, these are really going to help you move forward.
That's right.
We mentioned the masterclass. Again, I'd encourage you to go to Leaders.Church/secrets. Certainly follow us on social media and leave us comments. We'll be glad to interact with you that way. And so we'd be honored to have you subscribe to whatever podcast platform you're listening to, and certainly the YouTube channel. We've got to leave us a review. If you want to leave us a 5-star review, we'd love it. We got a review here from Dr. John. Whatever your leadership needs may be, the topics are relevant here and insightful. I'm so glad this team is providing this resource at such a critical time for our ministries. Sincere and inspiring. Well, thank you, Dr. John. We're very grateful for that. And again, if you'll leave a comment, maybe yours will be read here on the Church Tips podcast in the days to come. Anything else, Jonathan?
That's it.
I think we're good to go. Thanks for watching and listening today. We'll see you next time.
Hey, Jonathan here. Real quick before you go. Everything in your ministry rises and falls on your leadership. So investing in your leadership is essential to staying healthy and growing the ministry. And that's why I want to invite you to join us inside the Leaders.Church membership. This online streaming service for pastors gives you access to more than 300 videos plus training material to level up your leadership and improve your ministry skills. If you'd like to do that, I want to invite you to go to Leaders.Church/boost. Again, that's Leaders.Church/boost. Well, thanks again for joining us on the Church Tips podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.